Hi, everyone. This is Paul Casey, the Kenpo Karate Hall of Fame educational video series, where we discuss the martial arts. And sometimes we have very, very special individuals that come on to discuss their martial science with us. I'm very honored, and wow, this is really something very special because I've known of her for a long time through many, many people in the martial arts. I want you to meet this beautiful lady that comes from the island of Hawaii. She is Kumu Manu, and that's with the Lua system of martial arts. And Michelle, welcome to the show. Thank you for coming on.
Oh, thank you for having me, Paul.
So why don't we start off with the easy part? Everybody's going to be enamored with your beauty, but they're going to be wowed by what you have to share. So please tell us a little bit about your history, how you got in the martial arts, and where you're at with it today.
So I'm older than I look, apparently, from what people say. So I started martial arts 40 years ago this year. It's an honor to still be here and practicing. And at that time, we all know that there weren't very many females in martial arts. And it's not because we couldn't handle it. It just had been mostly a boys' activity. So I started a long time ago, and I trained in several different arts, but I could say it's about 26 years ago I found my teacher in Lua, L-U-A, and it falls under the category of martial arts today, but it's actually the only indigenous warrior art to Hawaii. So while a lot of arts came through Hawaii or started in Hawaii or were formalized and finalized in Hawaii, this warrior's way of being, this practice of Lua, was the only art there before visitors started coming. So that's the art in which I practice, but it's more of a cultural practice than it is an art, because the warriors didn't just, exit their house every day and just practice martial techniques. They were well versed in strategy and architecture, agriculture, deep sea fishing, massage, medicine, you name it. They were well rounded, and also in weapons making as well. So martial was really important when we went to battle. It was never static. So you can imagine chaos and constant movement, flying things such as ihe spears and pohaku rocks from the ma'a slingshots. So it was very chaotic, and they prepared for that. So that's the art in which I train, am ranked, and now teach.
Wow. Yeah, I teach an elementary school, and I work with children with special needs. One of the more favorite movies we like to watch is Moana. So I got a feeling I'm going back, and what a great movie. And if there's anything, that your culture has, is family. And it is beautiful, the relationship between the members of the families and the lineage. And I've always said this to people: Hawaiians are very special. You're a spiritual group of people that it is heartfelt. And in my discussions with some of my Hawaiian friends, the Parker family, I love the thought that the universe centers from Hawaii, is what I learned, which is true. And second of all, they have such a love for people when they meet them until you betray them, and
Right.
then you're in deep trouble. So in your travels, did you grow up on Oahu, or were you on Maui, or where did you grow up?
The Big Island, but
Oh, big
we
Hawaii. Oh, Hawaii.
yes, but my father married a Scandinavian, so I'm half Scandinavian, and so we ended up moving to the most non-racial place for interracial marriages at the time, which was Southern California. So there's still some issues there, but not as bad in other parts of the nation. So that's where I was primarily raised, was actually in Southern California.
In your travels, when you're starting, well, let's go back to your martial arts history. You said you dabbled in something else before you went to Lua?
Yeah,
Well,
so I trained in Kenpo. I trained in some of the Korean arts when I was in the Midwest touring as a professional Polynesian dancer. And then when I returned back to Southern California, that's when I found my teacher. So, yeah.
nice. What are the most important things that people can take from the Lua system? What stands out besides the traditional appearance? But there's got to be something deeper than that.
Yes, I believe it's not misusing what you've learned. I think what the students learn the most, what they experience is really evolution. It's not just lip service, mind, body, spirit stuff. Like they really do learn it. They understand the importance of what they're learning, what they're being exposed to, what they're becoming. Because there's know about, there's actually know, and then there's actually become. They become these principles and this way of life, and it affects and bleeds into everything they do and what they say, and how they choose to evolve, the relationships they choose to enter into and terminate, and that includes also holding oneself accountable. So it doesn't just end when they leave class. It permeates throughout their entire life, as it should with a warrior. So those you were talking about until you betray. There's this thing called huku in our culture, which means reflection, and I think that's ancient ways, Maoli ways, yeah, welcoming until there's the betrayal, then they match it, right? So then we're perceived as savages. But today, I think, we have to be law-abiding citizens. They have to have self-control. And I think that's the difference between some martial arts where you learn these devastating things that can really hurt others, but you still haven't resolved that anger or issues within oneself, and you become actually a really big liability to your teacher. So, and to yourself and to those in your life. So I think in Lua, it's embracing the metaphysical aspect of growth and evolution. Even it's the irony of that too, because you're learning so many things that are so devastating, but there's something so powerful about stepping into your warrior power, and shutting your mouth and letting your body be your rank. And that's really what it's about. And letting your life be evidence of who you are, not what you are, what you've accomplished. So I think that's the difference, is really living a pono life, a good life.
You're mentioning this, the warrior mindset, but then again, you also you have a background in Polynesian culture and the dance and the hula. So that is the other end is so, I mean, I have to say, anybody that has watched a Polynesian exhibit or exhibition where there's dance in there, it is so powerful, the expression with your hands and what you can do when you're listening to a particular song or instrumental.
Mm.
You can feel what you're it's like you'll say, when you put out a word, energy comes out. If it's positive, it will be reflected as positive. If you say something negative, boy, man, you can't bring it back. And I would think that when you're up there and you're performing, you are one. You are one with the music. Am I right?
Yeah, it's what you're emulating. You're becoming those waves. You're becoming that bird. You're becoming the wind. So it's beautiful. And our lua was concealed within the hula around 1823, when our queen Kumu Manu banned the public display of our warrior art because it was offensive to the visitors, brutality wise. So it went in hiding at that point, and was hidden within the hula. We talk about it, but we don't really show it. My students get to learn it firsthand. So it's quite an honor to carry on what was into today. Yeah.
Let's back up a little bit. With your instructor that you learned from, tell us about your relationship with that person and what was the most redeeming quality that you take from that relationship.
My teacher was old school. He knew Mr. Parker very well. In fact, I believe they were cousins. My teacher, old school wise, very strict, very strict. Hadn't taught a woman in over 25 years when he accepted me as a student, and tried to get me to quit for 8 years. I was lucky enough to have the first 2 years with him alone, or with one other student, to deprogram everything I had learned and program me only in the way of Lua. And if I would have known what a special time that was back then, I would have cherished it a little more. But what I've taken away from my training is that there are no excuses, that I may only get one time, one chance to defend myself, or to react, to pay attention, to allow to react. And he set me up quite a bit. and not even in a loving way, to fail. Even the first time I had permission to teach, he gave me what I could teach specifically to who I could teach it for a specific amount of time. And I did exactly what he told me. And I got back and he said, well, how'd it go? And I said, it went horrible. And he said, well, why? And I said, well, he goes, what did you learn? And I said, I have to do it my way. And I was so angry with him that he'd set me up to fail, but he did me a solid, because ever since then, I've been finding my own delivery of this sacred generational information. And so my takeaway with Alohe is that he really set me up for success, even if it didn't feel like it at the moment. And I wouldn't change a thing. And I'd only wish, like all of us, wish I had more time with him. But he said, one day, it's been 1,000 years, 1,000 years. And one day, you're going to look back in the canoe as you're rowing, and I'm not going to be there. And that came quickly, even if it was over 25 years. It was a hard thing to adjust to. And he's only been gone 4 years, and it's still a hard thing to adjust to. But here we are. We do, I'm sure my Kumu brothers, since I'm only female, also, move in the way throughout the world now and teach, if they're teaching, and share what he fed them in their own way, And so I have to focus on myself and make sure I'm doing what would please him today, what he would expect of me.
It's beautiful. It sounds to me like you guys the two of you created perfect moments.
I wouldn't know about that, but
you're reflecting on them, Michelle. Yes, you're laughing. There's a little nervous laugh there, but let's be real.
Everything is for our benefit, right? It's just
sure.
Right or wrong or good or bad. It's just like these moments happened, and they were ultimately for my evolution. And I didn't quit. It actually made me take a stronger resolve, and really things became clear. So you could say I was forged by fire, blood, injuries, broken bones, things like that. If I would do it all over again, if I had the opportunity.
Your lineage runs deep with you. It's with your heritage and and where you're from. That's a very special thing that people don't realize, that this is a lifelong journey. This is not just, oh, I'm going to run down and study something for a few years and get a black belt because I gave him $1,000. You know what I'm talking about.
I do, yes.
And sadly, I see that. And in time, I think the greatest gift is to live a life that can inspire others to their personal greatness. And the most important commodity that you have or that you possess is time. I've had numerous conversations with the great Mike Stone. I mean, he wore me out, boy. I'll tell you right now. I had over, I think, 9 or 10 hours of interviews with him. We did 3 of them. And I'm telling you right now, it was like I was in a law school class dealing with real property and dealing with, old school. I mean, it was like learning Japanese or something I would never, or some kind of Latin that I would never use. But talking with him, I walked away from him about being in the moment. And that was the one thing. And so I think that's important. So let's talk about you now. So now that you are you're teaching, I'm guessing you're still teaching. Tell us a little bit about where you're teaching, and some of the students, and what are your goals with them?
I have a small group. We're about 30 strong. That's about it. There's an application process to study with me. I have some really wonderful dedicated students that will end up becoming lineage holders and also perpetuating this sacred practice. Other than that, I teach all over the world. I'm so lucky to be invited to share the Lua with worthy individuals, not just martial connoisseurs or collectors. These are individuals that understand this is not to be monetized and not to be shared unless you have permission. So I'm so grateful. I have a really great group, and I get to teach all over the world, and I get to impact women too as well. Speak about women warriors from all different cultures and how they were used as warriors, whether it's with poison or intelligence infiltration to come into spaces where male warriors wouldn't necessarily be able to get into as a maid, as a nanny, as a concubine, a cook, you name it. We were used in many different ways in all cultures. And so to be powerfully here as a modern representation of that, not just in Hawaiian, but for all women, has been really remarkable. I didn't think I'd see it in my lifetime. So I love working with women, bringing out the hammer, the zip ties, the baseball bat, the real life things that we will most likely be confronted with in today's world. Of course, the gun and the knife. We need to be realistic. This is not what I teach is not a Disney self-defense program. It's, we will get cut. We hopefully won't get stabbed. We will be injured. We may lose our voice. We may not be able to see. We may have to crawl our way out of a situation. But the goal is to understand that we are just as much of a priority than it is to protect others. And so it's getting us in that right mindset and understanding that, these are perishable skills and that we absolutely need to continue to train in them and think about them. Like you opened up with the show, I think we were talking before you went live about a thought being a thing. Absolutely, a thought is a thing. There's a Hawaiian proverb, a word uttered takes flight. So what we believe, what we do, what we think, what we say, all of these things produce energy. And so if we believe that we're going to make it out of a situation, then we're going to fight like hell until we get out of that situation. And we will vow that we will lose our life doing so because we're worth it. So women are a little bit different in the way that they learn. Men, like, I got this. And then they're like, oh, crap, that's kind of difficult. Let me try it again, and their confidence increases. But women actually have to believe that they can do it before the body actually responds to this energy of I can do it, then they can do it. It's so like backwards in how we learn. So that's something that I came into the revelation of over these years. It's really fascinating. So I'm super blessed just to be welcome and invited to certain places. Thanks.
I love your passion. You're just engaging, and it's really, it's positive. As we said before, it's a positive enthusiasm. That warrior mindset, how do you use that in today's world? And especially as a woman, you have so much to compete against, which is so wrong, but we know that that's what happens. But how do you use that to be successful in your endeavors?
I just think just being in reality of the things that we do encounter. You can't just go find your power, burn the bra, hate all men. You can't do that, right? I mean, that would be shooting ourselves in the foot. It's understanding, being very aware, and accepting of the world that we live in as it shifts. And as we have men that start to come publicly to support, like, you know what, maybe they're not just a figment of our imagination, these women warriors. No, we're not giving up anything by acknowledging that they existed and helped us in different ways when we were at war. For some reason, because of, and I say patriarchal without a negativity, like we hear it and we're like, oh, already, that's not what I'm saying, but where it's Ku dominant or masculine dominant, like Ku would be Hawaiian masculine. There's an imbalance, just like if it was Hina focused or dominant, it would be imbalanced. We need both Hina and Ku. Men and women are equal, and we need to see ourselves as helpers to one another. We both have strengths, we both have weaknesses. And I think if we can acknowledge that the world needs balance, then we don't take offense to the programming that maybe some of us have. Where men are better, women are weaker, women rock and men suck, and all men and all men and all women. And if we can get out of that and actually deal nicely with one another, and empower one another, and not have to throw around our ego, but actually deal in the spirit with one another, I think that's helpful. That's how we use the warrior wisdom, right? Is acknowledging the world that we live in, and then maneuvering gracefully through that. Right. That's how I work in the legal profession of 28 years. You know, when something that you need to say is not going to be maybe welcomed, when a male counterpart is going to say something that's absolutely brilliant and amazing, then you find a different way to deliver that comment or that suggestion. So we become even more clever than we already are as women. So yeah, acknowledging the world in which we live in and maneuvering properly. That's my advice.
Do you, as a woman, you have one of the greatest gifts is you can bring life to this world.
With
Okay.
help. Yeah.
Well, but yeah, well, I, yeah, okay. The point I'm saying is that what a great gift. And, but at the same time, being as a warrior, you also know what it means to take life. And my question is that because of that, I'm not sure. On the mainland, the mindset of males is maybe a little bit different than it is maybe over
Yeah.
in Hawaii. Am I right on that?
Correct.
Is there more balance in Hawaii than there is here?
No, no, there isn't. It's just different. It's been infiltrated and there's generational trauma there from influences, and unfortunately, this is why we're imbalanced. A lot of the women that abuse their families, even back home, are modern day warriors that aren't training in our lua.
Okay.
So
Okay.
it's different. Yeah.
Do you visit? Do you still perform in the Polynesian sense of hint hint? June, maybe you never know. Uh, do you get up in front of people and do any of that performance of you're smiling? I love it. You teach that, you pass that on. It's so beautiful.
Oh, I do teach it. It's actually a mandatory part of my system. So what my students learn would be hula into the lua where it was concealed, and hula really helps our grace and our micro footments, balance, timing, and that's turned into lua. And then they learn also the lua lomi, which is the warrior massage. It's the animals within the lua and in the hula that are actually now with a different intent to heal, and that is the warrior massage. And then we also learn the metaphysical, so the pohihihi, which is where we develop spiritually, which everything really comes out of that gray matter. Wouldn't you agree, Paul?
Oh, absolutely. Now, how do the men respond to when you're teaching the cultural, because they're learning from a woman?
I know.
I mean,
And
that
so
must be a hurdle for you a little bit.
it was, but it's not anymore. I don't know what happened.
You can slap them around a
So
little bit, is what you're going to tell me, right? Come
maybe,
on.
I guess. I don't know. I'm always increasing my power and effectiveness and breaking things down. But I think the last question, the seventh question in the application, the beginning of the application process to study with me is, how do you feel you will respond to the chief instructor, which is a female Kumu? And I can read the energy when I read the answers, but most are very receptive. I have just slightly above more women than men right now, but they all work very well together. We need to work together. In ancient times, women were separate from men, and men were separate from women. Women learned Lua much quicker and much more intensely than the men. The men were part of the regiment, and the women had their own regiment. So I think in today's world, it's good for the balance to have the men with the women, the women with the men, because men need to learn how to work with women, not make exception, and the women need to learn how to confront that masculine energy, because most likely some of us have had like unfortunate run-ins with that masculine energy with an unhealthy male in our life. So it's good because we both sexes learn. But for the most part, I mean, my students, they're so respectful and wonderful. But I have been overseas and to other seminars where there's the usual 2 or 3 to 4 guys on our back, like, what is this going to be, aerobics for the next 2.5 hours, and I go around and make sure I touch them. And at the end, it's the most fascinating thing. Those are the very gentlemen that stay after and want to talk with me about a specific animal or about a specific maneuver and what they were struggling with, and how was I able to do it at 5'7", 160 as a female. I was like, it doesn't matter about genitalia. It matters about physics. And if you underestimate me, you're in big trouble. So you better pay attention, because I've got some students that they're wahine, they're women, and they are 5 feet or just shy below and above, and they, because of they're so close to the ground, they really kill my larger Kane students. Like, as soon as they go into their back crossover and that lua toilet motion, their feet go up and they're coming down, and it's like remarkable to watch the physics of it all. You think that there's one in particular, you think she would have such a disadvantage, but it's not. As soon as she can kick out a leg, bring that neck closer, like he's done. And they don't even know what happened at that point. So it's not that bad for me. I'm grateful. I love being a woman. I never used to really feel like this. Oldest of 5, I was supposed to be a boy. And it's fascinating because I just love that I'm able to show I'm growing. I used to think I couldn't smile in public. I couldn't give an interview without, laughing or being myself. But now I'm so confident in who I am and what I can do and how I'm being used by the Kapuna, the ancestors, and seeing how I'm able to assist and guide my students into evolution and becoming tremendous practitioners and respectful and integrous lineage holders. Like, the Kumu means teacher, yes, of course, but it's a bestowed title. It's not just, I don't just get to take it. And it was generally around 5th degree with Olohe Kaivalu, where he would say, is she ready? Is she not? Or is he ready? Is he not? And that's about the time. So you're a senior at that point. And he's already tested you in several ways. Like I see that, I'm the trunk of the tree, and my Helmana, my students are the branches. And one day they will become the trunk and they will have their own students. And this is how we know that we've done our job as Kumu,
You're a breath of fresh air, lady. I'm going to tell you right now, it is so positive, and I can see why you would have students that would want to spend their life learning from you. It's really, it's
Wow.
refreshing. So no, I'm just observation. I'm going to ask you maybe 2 more questions and then we'll wrap this. I know you're a very busy lady, got a lot of things going on, and we're very excited that for those of you that are watching this, you can come to Las Vegas in June and meet, Kumu Manu. She'll be there as she accepts her induction into the Kenpo Karate Hall of Fame, where the celebration is of greatness and it's the gold standard of people. What an amazing woman this lady is. Michelle, what is your vision for your art?
Oh my gosh, to continue with integrity. There's so much folklore around Lua, understandably so, because it's been in the shadows for so long. But at the same time, it's also kept that way on purpose. It's interesting to hear people poo-poo Lua because, it's not mainstream and there aren't any brick and mortars. But, honestly, it wasn't even taught to anyone outside of the bloodline. I'm grateful to my teacher and also one other Kane who brought the Lua to the continent. And without Olohe and his cousin, most of his main students wouldn't even be here. So, we're all mixed. I'm mixed. And if we only taught it to those with cocoa or blood, then it would die. So it's not really about color of skin or heritage. It's about the integrity of one's character that really speaks to me. It's not gender, obviously. So if I can find those amazing spirits that where Lua is calling to them and they feel called to perpetuate this generational knowledge that has been kept so close to us and the people, then that is my vision, that is my job. And I'm led in that through different ways and how things develop in front of me. So I'm so honored to be inducted, but it's really not me. It's the Kapuna that are working through me. It's my ancestors and source, if you will, that has a bigger plan for people to become whole. It's just Lua tends to be that vehicle. It's yoga for some. It's Tai Chi for others. It's other writing for some of the creatives. What I love about Lua, it's not just operational and like pragmatic and science-based. It's also very art, right? I can show my students like a technique or a martial hula, a form, if you will. And yes, they have the baseline, but you can see their own expression of it. And based on their body's style, their age, wear and tear, I say high mileage, and they make it their own, yet the baseline is still there. You still know what form or hula, they're doing. I think that's the beautiful part about the science and the art mixed together in this. it's just such a beautiful thing to watch. So I'd love to see more of that. And I'd love for my students to really show where the lua has been concealed in the hula. This has been separate. These two communities have been separate for over 200 years. And I would love where they once were practiced in the same heiau temple on one side and the other. I mean, now if this was considered the school, they're practiced together here too now. And I'd love to see my students continue that. Otherwise, we lose that connection. Yeah.
That is amazing. I know there's a lot of media coverage. I mean, I saw your, the article on you in Black Belt Magazine and others as well. And then I follow the Martial Arts Museum, my friend Michael Matsuda, which is your friend as well. Michael always comes out to the events, and I hope he'll be out here for this year as well. Please tell us, how would one want to find out more about you and reach out to you, or to maybe even extend an invitation for you to do a seminar in their area that they live in?
Well, I'm on social media, so under Michelle Manu, and YouTube, there's a small channel there. If you want to learn more, 52 Masters, the show by William Christopher Ford, is a really good show to watch. It's, I think, 20 minutes, and it gives you a background. We have some discussion, but you also see a workshop. And I did bring a lot of the Makau, the weaponry, to that specific workshop. But you can check us out at, it's Nakoa Wahine, so NAKOAWAHINE.org. And that is our school website. It's not the best, but you can go ahead and request information, and I will get a message, and either I or two of my officers, guardians, kia'is, will respond with application questions, and then we go from there. And yeah, if you want a workshop, I'll be in Norway and Zurich next month, and Hawaii Island in April, and Dallas in June. And so there's just, several places. If I'm already in the area, I can just detour.
Sure.
So, yeah.
Sure. Any final thoughts?
Thank you. Thank you so much for your time and for this induction. Like I said, when I heard, I was like, why? Why? And it's Kenpo karate. Where does lua fit in there? But you explained it so beautifully. And thank you for having me. And thank you for honoring the lua. And thank you for honoring women in the martial arts.
Oh, it's important. It's so important. I made that decision. The Hall of Fame has been around since 2014, and it was so important many, many years ago to expand past that. And like I said, there's over 14 systems, styles, and disciplines that are related, and they're Hawaiian based.
Yes,
So, and I mean, like you said, or I said earlier, as it was expressed to me, the center of the universe comes from Hawaii, and I can see why with your energy. Wow. Michelle, thank you so very much. You're such a beautiful person, and it's truly an honor to have this time with you. And I look forward to seeing you in June. And then, no further ado, folks, on behalf of the Kenpo Karate Hall of Fame and Kumu Michelle Manu, thank you so much. This is Paul Casey. We look forward to seeing you at the Kenpo Karate Hall of Fame.
Aloha.
Thank you.
Thank you.